So Epic Games has decided to take on Apple and Google over the cut of the profits that they get from Fortnite. Now, essentially what is happening is that Epic Games decided to offer an option inside Fortnite allowing their customers to pay Epic Games directly and skipping Apple in the process. Now, Apple, as everybody knows, wants 30% of every purchase. Doesn't matter whether it's the app or it's an in-app purchase, and Epic Games is not happy about the 30%. They'd rather Apple receive only 10%. So let's get straight into the information. And we have Tom Warren here, and he writes, wow, Epic Games has added its own payment scheme to Fortnite on iOS. It bypasses Apple's in-app purchase system and it's cheaper. Not sure how Epic is able to do this, but it's good news for Fortnite fans. So I'm assuming that Epic probably just skipped over this when they passed it in when they passed the update for review, and that's how Apple weren't able to find it. Now, if you look at the screenshot that Tom Warren has, it says that for the Apple App Store, the payment is $9.99, and this would be the regular payment to Apple in the old-fashioned way. And Epic Games has added an extra option where it says Epic Direct Payment, and it's $7.99. So essentially, it's 20% less, which kind of says to me that Epic Games only wants Apple to take 10% cuts. And essentially the way that they've done this is kind of like a middle finger to Apple. So after that happened, Mark Gurman wrote on Twitter, Epic's Fortnite has been removed from the App Store after they implemented direct payments, circumventing Apple's 30% cut. And then Apple had a statement, which The Verge wrote about, and essentially it's pretty much the same as the Microsoft xCloud statement from last week. So today, Epic Games took the unfortunate step of violating the App Store guidelines that are applied equally to every developer and designed to keep the store safe for our users. As a result, their Fortnite app has been removed from the store. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did so with the express intent of violating the App Store guidelines regarding in-app payments that apply to every developer who sells digital goods or services. So I'm not going to read all of it out, but essentially it's more or less the same thing. And you know, Microsoft had a similar issue last week when they decided to end xCloud development on Apple. It's still going on the Google Android store, but with Apple, they seem to have a problem where they were charging for subscriptions off-site or not inside the app, and Apple didn't like that, and therefore they decided not to approve the app. Now, as you know, this was all pre-planned, and Epic Games even had an ad, which I'm going to run for you now.
Today, we celebrate the anniversary of the platform unification directives. For years, they have given us their songs, their labor, their dreams. In exchange, we have taken our tribute, our profits, our control. This power is ours and ours alone. We shall prevail.
If you don't know, this is basically a troll of the Apple ad, or an ad that Apple did in the past where they copied the 1984 style. If you don't know about 1984, it's a book about a dystopian future with a tyrannical government and how the people have to fight for freedom and oppression, a fight against oppression. But essentially, all of this was just a middle finger to Apple, and they were not happy about the cut of the payments. Kotaku pretty much summarizes really well. This was an article from Luke Plunkett, and he says everything about this sucks. So I'll just read a little bit of this. I woke up this morning to the news that Epic Games, a plucky corporate underdog worth $17 billion, was trying to enlist the world's help in taking on Apple's anti-competitive practices, and my skin wanted to crawl right off my body. In case you're joining us, earlier today, Apple booted Fortnite from the App Store for violating its payment policy, Epic Games. The creators of Fortnite responded quickly by filing a complaint, a legal injunction against Apple. In addition to the legal struggles between the two companies, which are essentially built around a disagreement over the fact Apple takes 30% of App Store money and Epic doesn't want to pay that, Epic Games also launched a concerted public relations campaign built around a parody of a TV ad made by Apple at least 15 to 30 years before most Fortnite players were even born. I would, however, like to give a shout out to the people responsible for looking back at the last 10 years of video game community relations and deciding that weaponizing a fan base of angry gamers was a really healthy and fun thing to do here. Yeah, so I'll leave a link in the description below so you can go and check the rest of that article out. But essentially he mentioned a very key point here is that Epic Games is really using its users, made very clear by the fact that they had an ad of 1984 inside Fortnite game so that they could weaponize their user base and turn them against Apple. There's a couple of interesting pieces of information here. So Ion from Resetera, he wrote, he said that Epic's stance goes further than that and is now, we want to build our own app store on iOS. So it's kind of the same thing as Microsoft xCloud, because Microsoft xCloud was also sort of like their own store on because they wanted to charge for subscriptions and then people could come in and play for free, so Apple couldn't get a cut of the profits from that. So I'll just read what it says here. Epic and Fortnite's users are directly harmed by Apple's anti-competitive conduct, but for Apple's illegal restraints, Epic would provide a competing app store on iOS devices, which would allow iOS users to download apps in an innovative curated store and would provide users the choice to use Epic's or another third party's in-app payment processing tool. So this is absolutely what Apple wouldn't want. They wouldn't want everybody to start creating their own store on iOS and Apple handsets, and really this is more of a legal issue, and it's hard to tell what's going to happen from here. Now, Ayana writes, they're exploiting their users, a large portion of who are children, and basically telling them to brigade social media accounts. Why can't I access Fortnite on iOS? Apple is blocking your ability to get the latest Fortnite updates. All players should have a choice in payment providers and save up to 20%. Apple wants to limit your payment choices. Join the fight against App Store on social with free Fortnite. I only play on iOS devices. How can I regain access to Fortnite if I only play on iOS devices? Make your voice heard in the fight against the app tax. Message App Store using free Fortnite on social. All players should have a choice in payment providers and save up to 20%. Apple disagrees. Now, we all like contrarian opinions here, so let's read this one from Mindwipe. So Mindwipe says, to legal folks, it appears that Epic literally can't lose this case in Europe. Let's be clear here. The App Store is unambiguously evil. It is used to attack sexual minorities, rights to free expression. It was used to shut down Hong Kong's protests on behalf of the Chinese government. It enables apps in despotic Middle East regimes to track women so they can't move without men's permission and prohibits software to stop this. It is wrong. It's not even in Apple's interests in the long run. It has made them fat and lazy and vastly reduced the consequences to them of producing poor software and services. And the sooner they're forced to fix their organizational issues, that solves that, the better. I'm actually really quite impressed that Sweeney has done this well done. So even if Mindswipe is correct on all of those moral issues, I think the fact that the way that they've gone about this, using people using underage or minors to do their work, I think that's probably not the right way to go about it for Epic Games. And you can totally agree on the fact that Apple shouldn't have a 30% pay cut shouldn't have a 30% cut of the profits. But also you can also agree on the fact that Epic Games has kind of gone around about this the wrong way. Now, finally, I just wanted to add this from Michael Pachter. Now, if you don't know Michael, he's an analyst with Wedbush Analyst, and he studies video games for a living. He says this Apple Epic battle is interesting. Apple charges 30% of in-game purchases for games played on its phones and charges 15% for subscriptions, think newspapers or Spotify. The 30% comes from the fees charged by cable companies for pay-per-view movies in the 90s. Apple worked with record labels to take 30% for song sales, pointing to the cable example, and the record labels, under pressure of piracy, went along. Of course, based on Apple's lead with music, the game console makers started charging 30% when full game downloads were made possible. And also, of course, as movie rentals shifted from PPV, pay-per-view, to video on demand, the cable companies and OTT streaming services also charged 30%. Apple didn't invent the 30% toll charge, but it grew to be the biggest collector of fees because of the explosive growth of mobile games. Google followed suit, and by the late 2000s, everyone was charging 30%. It was the industry standard. Apple had some pushback from subscription services like newspapers and Spotify, and agreed to lower the ongoing toll charge to 15%. Now, it goes on for like 23 tweets, so I'm not going to read them all out. And also, you could make the same argument that many retail stores also charge around 30% for their product. So, in some cases, even with board games, it could be as high as 50% for retail. But a lot of the time, you do need a certain portion for retail because they need to pay for rent and they need to pay for labor to sell the games. So that's essentially what that 30% is for. But now people are arguing that, well, for Apple to keep a server up, it doesn't cost them 30% per user or per purchase. So therefore, what Epic Games is really trying to do is they're trying to get everybody on board, and they think that they can win because if they start to argue about this, then there may be a lot of other companies that also argue about it and also bring other people along. And it's kind of like what unionization really is about. For people to unionize against a company, they would need everybody in the company to stand up together to fight and fight for better wages and better terms. So I guess Epic Games is doing this in the way that they know how to maybe make it go viral somehow and get people on their side. So technically, yes, you could say that Epic Games is on doing the right thing for consumers. However, the way that they've done it is pretty laughable with their 1984 ad and their, I guess, fight for freedom. So make of that what you will, but seems like to me that they've gone about it in a very weird way. Maybe over time, if everybody is on board and can fight for a better deal than this 30%, then it will be better for everyone.